In a quiet neighborhood in Japan, on a clear morning, a young man named Shinichi prepares for what he believes will be just another working day. Shinichi works as a household assistant, a role that requires patience, responsibility, and attention to detail. That morning, his manager assigns him to a new client villa on the outskirts of Tokyo. The place belongs to Hikari, a woman known not for her wealth, but for her grace and independence. She's an artist, someone who values beauty and simplicity. Shinichi accepts the assignment without much thought. After all, it's just another home to clean. But fate often works quietly. What seems ordinary may hold unexpected meaning. When Shinichi arrives at the villa, he's struck by how peaceful the surroundings feel. The garden is simple yet well kept, filled with soft colors of early spring. The sound of a small fountain blends with the rustling of bamboo leaves. Everything feels calm, as if the house itself is breathing. Shinichi notices something unusual about the place. Though elegant, the villa feels lived in. Instead of a perfect luxury home, it's a space filled with life, imperfection, and quiet energy. He realizes that Hikari isn't someone distant or untouchable. She's someone who values effort over appearance and sincerity over formality. Hikari occasionally observes from a distance. She notices how he pays attention to small details. There's something thoughtful about his rhythm, a kind of mindfulness that reminds her of an artist at work.
ちょっと待って。助かったわ。また君を呼んでもいい？
はい。ありがとうございます。
ありがとう。
After the job was done, a gentle sense of trust began to form between them, not through words, but through actions. Hikari thanked him. Every word was polite but sincere.
シンチ、
父さん、どこ行くの？
シンチ、お前は強い子だ。父さんがいなくてもしっかりできる。じゃあな。
父さん、行っちゃやだ。
For Shinichi, this moment is more than a job. It's a reminder that every task, no matter how small, carries meaning when done with heart. In the weeks that followed, Shinichi returned to Hikari's villa several times. Each visit began the same way, calm, respectful, and ordinary, but ended with a feeling he couldn't quite describe. It wasn't excitement in the usual sense. It was something quieter, something that felt like peace mixed with purpose. Every time he stepped inside the villa, he felt a familiar sense of belonging. For Shinichi, it became more than just a workplace. It was a space where he could reflect, learn, and grow. Hikari, on the other hand, found herself inspired by Shinichi's humility. His focus reminded her of why she started painting in the first place, to express gratitude for life's small, unnoticed details. One afternoon, as Shinichi cleaned the veranda, he noticed a small potted plant by the railing. He gently brought it to Hikari's attention. Hikari smiled, touched by his thoughtfulness. Together, they spent the next few minutes trimming, watering, and gently restoring the bonsai. It was a small act, but one that carried meaning. And in that moment, they weren't maid and employer. They were simply two people caring for something fragile together. Days turned into weeks, and their conversations deepened naturally. Hikari would often ask Shinichi about his life, how he started this job, what motivated him, and what he hoped for the future. He spoke honestly, saying that he wanted to find stability, to live meaningfully, and to make people's lives a little brighter, even through simple acts of service. Hikari listened intently. His words reminded her of her younger self, when she was full of curiosity and dreams before. Adulthood filled her days with deadlines and pressure. Inspired, she began painting again, capturing moments from her daily life. She never told him he had become part of her art, but her brush moved differently now, more alive, more sincere. Shinichi noticed the changes in her too. The villa, once filled with quiet solitude, began to radiate warmth again. The sound of her laughter returned, subtle but genuine. And though he didn't say it aloud, he felt proud to have contributed, even in a small way, to that transformation. There were no grand gestures, no dramatic declarations, only acts of care, consistency, and respect. He learned that true connection doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes it grows like a tree slowly, quietly, and naturally, until one day you realize its roots are deep. During a dinner prepared by Hikari, and invited Shinichi to join them. As they were about to start eating, the storm outside caused the apartment to suddenly lose power for a moment. Shinichi hurriedly reassured her to calm down. For a brief moment, under the sound of the rain, they stood close enough to feel the peaceful comfort of friendship. No romance, no tension, just mutual understanding. When the house lights came back on, Hikari looked at Shinichi and said, "You remind me that kindness still matters. Sometimes I forget how powerful small efforts can be." He smiled, slightly shy, but sincere. "It's the same for me. Working here has taught me that even a simple task can have meaning when it helps someone feel at peace." They both stopped, long enough for the air to quiet down again. It was a scene so ordinary, yet so human. Two people, standing under one umbrella, learning about gratitude and connection through shared effort. And in that simplicity, their story began to feel quietly extraordinary. Because sometimes, life's most meaningful chapters don't begin with dramatic events, but with a gentle rhythm of small acts done with care. And those moments, though humble, can shape who we become. As time passed, the bond between Shinichi and Hikari deepened in quiet, invisible ways. They never spoke of it directly, but both could sense how their days had changed. Shinichi found himself looking forward to every visit, not because of the work, but because of the peace that filled the villa, a peace that seemed to echo the rhythm of their growing friendship. Yet life has a way of testing even the gentlest connections. One day, Shinichi received an unexpected call from his agency. His services would be needed at another estate, far away. The new position was more stable, with better pay and the promise of advancement. For a man working hard to build a steady life, it was an opportunity he couldn't easily refuse. Later that week, Shinichi gathered his courage and told Hikari the news. She listened silently, her hands resting on a half-finished canvas. The light from the window framed her face in calm composure, but her eyes held a trace of sadness. "I see," she said softly. "You deserve it, Shinichi. You've worked hard for everything you've achieved." He bowed slightly. "Thank you, Ms. Hikari. I've learned a lot here, not just about work, but about how to approach life." He hesitated, unsure how to explain the depth of what he felt. Gratitude, respect, and something quieter that words couldn't capture. Hikari smiled. Her words lingered in the air, warm yet bittersweet. Shinichi prepared to leave. Each task he completed, polishing the floor, dusting the shelves, watering the bonsai, felt like a farewell. And yet, through that quiet process, he realized something profound. Endings are not losses when they are filled with gratitude. She said, "Promise me one thing, Shinichi. Whatever you do, keep doing it with heart. People may forget the task, but they'll always remember the care behind it." He smiled, bowing once more. "I promise." And with that, he left. He had entered Hikari's life as a worker, but he was leaving as someone who had learned about purpose, gratitude, and connection. Both of them carried on with their lives, separate paths, same lesson. That sincere effort leaves lasting light, even when people part ways. Because true connection isn't measured by how long it lasts, but by how deeply it changes us. Time has a quiet way of softening memories. Months passed since Shinichi left Hikari's villa. Yet the lessons he learned there stayed with him, lessons not written in books, but taught through everyday actions. One evening, Shinichi received a call from Hikari. The conversation wasn't long, just a few short sentences. "Dear Shinichi, I hope you're doing well. The bonsai we cared for is growing strong, and it reminds me of the lesson you once shared. Even strong roots need attention sometimes. I'm grateful for that wisdom. I hope wherever life takes you, you keep nurturing the things that matter most." Shinichi smiled, feeling a quiet sense of peace. That life's most extraordinary connections often grow from the simplest beginnings. One kind gesture, one sincere word, one moment of understanding. Every person we meet becomes part of our story, no matter how briefly. So, wherever you are, work with heart, treat others gently, and let gratitude guide your steps. Because in the quietest actions, we create the brightest change. Their story is proof that love can blossom from the simplest and most sincere things in life.